Hello and welcome back. This is sort of part two of this tutorial. So we have our first person hand here. We can shoot, and we're going to get a gun and place it in their hand. Before I do that, I am just going to scale this back a lot. So I'm going to say 0.2 and do the same here. So 0.2 and 0.2. Now, and then reposition this so it's closer to me. And just pull it back there. Okay, so, and when I press play, I can still, yep, so I'm not dipping my hand through the world. Close, but not there. Okay, so in this tutorial, we are going to, I'm going to create, again, this is a really kind of crude looking kind of hand. I'm going to, in Blender, make two very crude looking sort of objects to put in the hand of the character. So let's, and these will be super crude, so I'm going to go S.1, make it nice and small, and we'll scale it on X, and we were literally not going to pay very much attention to this at all in terms of what I'm making, so I'm going to extrude and extrude, and we will scale this a little on Y, and then use that way. So we're going to call this gun 1. Now before I save this, I just want to have a look at its origin. So I'm going to go into edit mode and select it all and go G. I'm going to place the origin in the center of the handle. It's not massively important, but will be relevant when we're in Unity. So I've called it gun 1, and I'm going to go File, Save As, and we'll call it gun 1. Okay, and then just for simplicity, we're going to make gun 2, and we're going to make gun 2 from gun 1. We're actually going to go Shift D with everything selected. I need to go FGY, and we will take both of these and go SY0, and then remove doubles. 4 vertices removed. So that's going to be gun 2. And the origin of this is in the same place. I have internal geometry here, so I'm going to go X faces. That looks better. Okay, so File, Save As, and gun 2. Now, we could add animations and all sorts of complexities to these and set them up as we did in the last tutorial, but not it won't help us in this game. Okay, so here's my gun 1 and my gun 2. So gun 2, gun 1. So in order to be able to bring them sort of in and out of the game, I need to make them into a prefab. So I'm just going to tidy up my project here. So I'm going to create folder, and I'm going to call this blend files, and I'm going to drop those two in there, and my first person rig. I'm going to create a folder called scenes, create a folder called scripts. I'm going to put my script in there. What's in my blend files here? Now you need to put that one in as well. Oops. And one for materials. Okay, and I'm just going to put this in my blend files. I should probably have a separate folder for them. Now, so I'm going to take gun1 and bring it into my world. Gun2 and bring that into my world. And I'm just going to move them forward here on Y so we can see them. And on both of them, I'm going to apply the ground material, just so that we can see them a little bit better. So, to make these prefabs, what we're going to do is we are going to, over here, make a new folder, and we'll call it prefabs. And in this are objects that are going to be added in at runtime. So before we do that, let's just make sure that these things can fit inside the hand of our character. So X is not too bad. So we'll bring in 1. 0.06. Okay. Okay, and 0.06. So we'll make this on X 0.02. Okay, so not a perfect match, but it fits inside the hand. So 0.02, 0.06, 0.06. So let's take the other gun and put 0.02, 0.06, 0.06. Now, these objects that we're bringing in, we don't need them to have so they have a mesh renderer on them so we can see them, but we don't need them to have physics, so they don't need mesh colliders or anything like that unless we wanted to be able to hit people with them. Now that means they'll probably go through the ground when we press play, etc., but for this tutorial we're not too worried. So I'm not going to add anything to these, they're in the right scale, and that's all we really need them to be. So I'm going to go to prefabs here and go right click and go create prefab. I'm going to call it gun1. And in that I'm going to take gun1, place it in there. I'm going to make another one, prefab, and call it gun2. And we'll put gun2 in there. Now, just this has nothing to do with this now. I mean, if I drag and drop it in, I'll update what's in the prefab. But I can make changes to this now, and the prefab won't change. So this is just a separate item, and that's important because we're going to take these ones and just place them on the ground. So when we walk over them, we can pick them up. So let's have a look at doing that. So I'm going to take this gun1 here. I'm just going to move it in front. I'm going to rotate it on its side, and I'm actually going to give it a scale of, say, 1. Oh, that's a bit too big, so let's say 0.5, and then maybe not 0.5, that's huge. Yeah, so we'll go back to 0.1, and let's say 0.16 and 0.16. Okay, so this is not meant to be realistic. It's a pickup. So I'm going to take this and place it on the ground and move it forward a bit. So excuse me. So what we're going to do is make it so that we can collide with it. So I'm going to add a physics. I'm going to add a box collider. So this doesn't need to be physically accurate. I could add a mesh collider and stuff, but if we just pass over it, we want it to work. So I've got a box collider, and then I've got a script that I'm going to use, and in the script I have I'm going to refer to this as gun1. So I'm going to create a tag so I can identify this. So I'm going to go add tag, and I'm going to go gun. Actually, I think I use a capital G, gun1. So now when I click back on this here, it doesn't have the tag, but this tag is now in my list. So gun1. So there we go. So we've added it in. It's got a box collider, so I can collide with it. Now the other thing we're going to do, so in the script that we're going to look at in a minute, I'm going to use a function called onTrigger. So I'm just going to click that there because I want this to be a trigger. Now we're going to do something similar with this guy here. So we're going to give him so 0.1, 0.16, and 0.16. So there is our very large gun2, and we'll place this here. We'll rotate it 90 degrees on Y. No, that's not what I want to do. On Z. Oh. Oops. That way. There we go. And we will place it down onto the ground. We will add a physics box collider and make it a trigger, and then we're going to make a new tag, and we're going to call it, in a very original way, we'll call it gun2, capital G, and then we'll go back to it and add in gun2. Okay, so what we want to happen is we want to be able to, in our world, we want to see these two pickups on the ground. We want to be able to walk up here and go over that one, and then have a gun appear in our hand. And then, having got that, when we go over here, I'm going to pick this one up and have a different gun appear in our hand, and have both of these objects that are on the ground disappear. So we want a good bit to happen. So next thing I want is I need to put in a place where these things are going to appear, and we want them to appear right here. So I'm going to go create empty. Now at the moment it's a child of the ground. Let's see where it's put it. So it's put it right at 0, 0, 0. So let's move this empty and place it right in the middle of our hand. I'm going to turn this way, and it's not in the right place. Okay, so I'm going to rename this weapon. Now I do not want it to be a child of the ground, I want it to be a child of the rig, and in particular I want it to be a child of the hand, because the hand's going to move and we want it to follow the hand, not the wrist or the top of the arm. We want this empty here to follow the hand. Okay, so if I press play now, so we can see that the empty, if I have no input here, is following the idle cycle animation. So when we have the gun in our hand, if it's added at that point, then the gun that we're holding will also move with the animation, which is what we want. Okay, so that's step one. So that's sort of like our setup. So we've made our prefabs, we've made the pickup items, and now we just need to get it all to work in a script. So here's the script I'm going to use. So I'm just going to bring over MonoDevelop here for us to look at, and double click on that, and there it is there. So what have I got here? So I have a game object, which is my gun, and my gun 2, so they're my two prefabs. And then I have a transform, which is a moving object, and that's gun place, or maybe I should call it gun placement. So that's going to be the empty in the hand, where the gun is added. And I've said on trigger enter, collide or other. So when I collide with something that is a trigger, if the other, so if the object I hit has the tag gun 1, and we've created two tags up here, gun 1 and gun 2. So if it has that tag, then the thing that I've hit, which will be this pickup on the ground, set it to be inactive. So basically turn it off, and then run this function. And then I've said if it has the tag gun 2, turn it off and run this second function. Okay, so sorry, actually, this is the script we're going to use here. So this is going to add our gun. So let's just talk our way through this if we can, and then we can see if it'll work. So we're going to say that we have a script called pickup, and then there's two guns in our script. They are not the two guns that are lying on the ground. There are two prefabs that we've made, gun 1 and gun 2. There's a place that they're going to be added called gun place, so that's going to be in the middle of the hand, as I said. And then we have this other variable called gun count, and that is so we can be in one of three states. We can have no gun, we can have gun 1, or we can have gun 2. So if we have gun 1, we want to pick up gun 2. If we have gun 2, we want to be able to pick up gun 1, and if we've no gun, we want to be able to pick up either. So these first two here are basically if we have no gun. Okay, so they're going to go, and gun count starts at 0 because we don't have one. So if I hit gun 1 and gun count is 0, then remove the one that we can see on the ground, run this new gun function here, and gun count equals 1. So this new gun here adds gun 1. Where does it add it? So it adds it at this position and this rotation. And the same here is if we bump into the object that has the tag gun 2 and we don't have a gun, then remove the object in the game, the pickup, run gun function 2 and gun count equals 2, and that's the other gun being added there with the instantiate function. And then these two last ifs are if I already have gun 2, then add gun 1. If I already have gun 1, add gun 2. So there are our simple way of adding in and out. Now there's other ways to do this. You can have all of the guns actually present in the hand, and then have them appear and disappear. But it's not a terribly good way of doing it. So there are a few ways to sort of implement this in a game. So I'm going to take my rigid body here, and I'm going to add my script to that, and it's going to ask me for a few things. It's going to ask me where are the two prefabs, so let's do that. Here's my prefab 1 and gun 2, and then it's asking me where is the place to add the gun, and that's the place there. And I've made this public, this gun count. I probably shouldn't have. So let's press play and see if we can to get this to work. So I'm going to walk forward, and you can see that that was added to the game. Let's see if we can go over here, and now that was added to the game. So we've been successful in adding in our two objects. Okay, so, and then let's see if we can add them in the opposite order. So if we can go over here first, and yeah, there we have. We've that's in the wrong orientation, but we can fix that. So we've added that in, and we picked that up, and we've added that in. Okay, so I haven't exactly, so the two of them, first of all, two guns are pointing upwards, so we need to change their orientation. That's fine. We have added them in, but they're not children now of the object that they were added to. So we need to fix that, and so then they will follow around. So we need to change their orientation, and we need to change their parenting. Just let me escape here and show you. So these are two here. When we set something active and inactive, we're basically turning it off and turning it on. So the object, you'll see it's kind of grayed out in the game engine. So when we set it to be inactive, it no longer has physics, or it's no longer rendered, it's no longer active in the game, but it's still there. It's a very handy little tool to be able to turn things on and off as you either collide with them or interact with them. So we're going to open up MonoDevelop here, and this is our script. So what we need to do is we need to add in something that's going to make this stay beside this object here. So we are going to down here say that the so this prefab that we've added in, which is called new weapon 1 dot transform the parent equals, and this is the place where it's being added. So I'm going to Control C, Control V, dot transform. Okay. Control C. I'll put that in here, and it's going to be 2. So basically, when we add this, so we're instantiating gun number 2. But it's not going to be called gun number 2 when it's added into the game. It's going to be a game object called new weapon 2, and then we're saying new weapon 2, its parent should be this. So let's save that and see what happens. See what crazy compile errors we get. Okay, so let's go again and see what happens. So we still haven't fixed the orientation, but we can come back and do that. So now I'm holding my gun, and it is, as you can see, it's now the child of the empty that's in the hand. And now I've got my other gun, which is also the child of the object that is in my hand. Okay, very good. So our so that has worked. So now I'm going to take my gun, this is the prefab, and bring it into the world. I'm going to double click on it here. And when I brought it into the world, it was pointing upwards. So I'm going to rotate it. Actually, we can, that's before we actually change the prefab. Let's see if we can fix this. simply by rotating this at 90 degrees. And then we'll press play. So we're trying to reorientate. Oh, so it's now pointing down, which is an improvement. And do 180 that way. Press play. So there's our gun in place. There is our second gun in place. Now I'm just going to hit escape for a second and open up this, and we're just going to look. So we've got so this is called gun clone 1, gun clone 2. So these are prefabs that have been added in. Now conveniently for me, the two of them are, the butt of them is a duplicate. If they were different in design, we'd see that the character is actually holding both of them right now. So the first one hasn't been removed before the second one was added in. So we'll have a look and see if we can fix that. So we'll just run this now and see it working, and then we'll go examine how the script works. So we will press forward, and we're going to pick up our gun, and if you look here in my hierarchy, you can see I've got gun 1 clone, which is the prefab after being instantiated. And what I want to happen is when I walk over into this pickup for the second gun, that it appears in my hand, the gun on the ground disappears to pick up, and gun 1 clone should disappear and gun 2 clone should appear. So let's see. So there we go. So the gun on the ground is gone, but more importantly, gun 1 clone is gone. Let's have a look at how we did that. So here's my script. So as before, we've got our game object, which is our gun 1, gun 2. We're comparing our tag. We're saying if I've collided with the object tagged gun 1 and I've no gun, which is gun count 0, then set myself to be, or like turn off the pickup on the ground. Gun count is set to 1 to indicate that I've picked up gun 1, and then run gun 1. So let's look at gun 1. So it says here, if gun count equals 1, then add gun 1 at the gun place. And we've added these two lines of code here. And it's basically saying find the game object called gun clone 2. Now if gun clone 2 doesn't exist, so we haven't picked it up yet, then this won't do anything. But if we'd already picked up, so if we were, if we had hit gun 2 and we'd already got a gun in our hand, then this will be implemented. It will delete gun clone 2. And then here it's got the opposite. It's saying, find object gun clone 1. So if that's active in the game, then destroy it. So we've loaded in as a variable here. So we're saying find this and call it that. So if it exists, then get rid of it. So these two lines of code added into these two functions basically destroys the other gun if it already exists. Okay, so it's not that complicated, but complicated enough. So we'll save it. It's already saved. So we'll just look at it one more time and see how it works. So we've got no gun in our hand. We're running around. We can pick up this gun here. So we've got gun number 2, clone 2. There's another pickup over there. We'll go over, pick it up. It's deleted both of the pickups. The pickup I had, which was gun clone 2, is gone, and I'm left with my first and pickup, and it is a child of the empty in my hand, and it will animate. Okay, now you don't necessarily have to do this in your game. You don't have to do pickups, but if you did want to do that, some of the mechanics are here. Maybe you don't want to go find cloned prefab objects and delete them. You just want to maybe pick up a coin and add to your score or something. And we'll be doing stuff like that shortly. Okay, so that's enough for now.